Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here. Welcome back to the railway and welcome to another 3D printing video. Today I'm going to be designing a model from scratch and then trying to 3D print it. I have had so much amazing feedback from the 3D printing videos I've made already. Lots of people enjoyed them and I want to thank you so much for watching them. But quite a few people have been calling for more information and more detail into the actual design phase of these models. And I've often showed how I design a model or a wagon or something, but always in the form of a time lapse, which gives a good impression of the rough idea behind model design, but it doesn't go into too much detail and it is a little bit difficult to follow. So today I've decided I'm going to design a wagon live while you watch. I'm going to do a live commentary as well. Now this will allow you to follow much more closely the technique, and obviously then you can adapt it and design whatever you like. But in order for this not to take all day, I've had to choose something fairly small and basic so that it fits into a video that isn't multiple hours long. So I've decided I'm going to build a two-plank wagon, a little bit unusual. I do like two-plank wagons, not that many of them around, but that's what I've decided to create. Now, what I would always recommend doing if you don't know exactly what you want to create, if you know you want to build something but you don't know exactly what you're going to build, I would suggest creating a mood board such as this one. So all I did to make this was I looked up lots of different pictures of two-plank wagons and I put them all together into one document, and then you can print it off or you can look at it and you've got all of the two-plank wagons right there in front of you. And what you can do is you can look at all of the wagons and you can pick out parts that you like and you could amalgamate those together into one wagon, or more often than not, one of the wagons in your mood board will have lots of features that you like, and in the end you'll decide that that is the wagon you want to create. And actually that did happen with my mood board. There is one wagon on there that's just caught my eye and that's the one I've decided to do. You'll find out what that is in just a second. So I'm hoping this will take 30 to 40 minutes, so strap yourselves in, get some refreshments. Hopefully you'll find it interesting. Fingers crossed you'll find it useful as well. This is always so much fun, so I'm very excited to be able to bring you with me on this journey. So let's design a wagon, let's do something amazing. Okay, so we are here in SketchUp and this wagon is going to be for my chassis B, which means it's going to be 70 millimeters long by 32 millimeters wide. But I'm only going to design this in quarters, which means rather than having to design a complete wagon in one go, I've only got to design a quarter of it and then I can duplicate that. So I'm going to create a little square that is 35 by 16 millimeters, and that should be exactly a quarter of the wagon. Now the walls of this wagon, I'm going to try and make this wagon a little bit finer scale. It could introduce some printing issues if I do this, but it's all about experimentation. I'm not here to create super realistic models or anything. I'm just here to learn how to create models full stop, and maybe one day some super realism might come. But anyway, yeah, I'm going for a 1.6 millimeter wall thickness. And the whole of this wagon is going to be optimized for my standard print setting. So every height and width measurement, barring one or two, which I'm just going to sort of wing, they're all going to be multiples of the printer's layer height and nozzle size in millimeters. So yeah, that's why you might see some strange figures. So for example, I'm making walls here that are 1.6 millimeters wide, which is a factor of the 0.4 millimeter nozzle diameter. Yes. Okay, so there you have it. That is now 1/4 of the wagon, and this wagon is only a two-planker, and I've already calculated that the height is going to be 6.54 millimeters tall. Ooh, that's the first time I'm actually visualizing what this height looks like. It's not very high. So let's duplicate this to begin with so I can see how it's going. So that's a quarter. I'm going to duplicate this and pop it over here, and then I'm going to flip it. Flipping heck. There we go. -1. And then we can park these together like that. Now, hopefully that will be 70 millimeters. If it ain't, I did it wrong. Yeah, that is 70. And then we just have to do it once more. Wow, this is actually going to be crazy short, isn't it? Wow. Right, and then -1. Yeah, I'm wondering whether I've gone overboard with how short this is going to be, but no, I think it will be okay. All right. Now, because, I mean, there's a bit of an illusion that goes on with any model, and this one is definitely not going to be any different, because the base of this is going to be quite thick, because I want the thing to have a fair amount of weight, and also I need to be able to put the little holes in the base so I can mount it onto a chassis. Therefore, the planking on the outside is not going to match the planking on the inside, because I'm going to have to jig them around a bit so that everything fits and looks okay. And incorporates that slightly thicker base. So yeah, I've never done this before. I've always sort of just made them less realistic. Hopefully I'm going to adjust this one so it's more realistic. So basically the first little piece of planking is going to be 1.26 millimeters up. And this is actually going to be a bit fatter than the typical base of one of these wagons. And I'm doing that so that, like I say, all the planking actually adds up. And then there's going to be a small gap, which is in fact much larger than any gap on a real wagon, between the base and the first plank. That's 0.48 millimeters. I do this so that the printer has no problem producing this sort of definition, even though it's not very realistic. And then the next planking is going to be the actual two plank of the two plank wagon are going to be 2.16 millimeters high. And that takes us to there. I did all these calculations very roughly before I started, so I'm hoping these are going to be accurate. And if I did it right, this should now be, it should be another 2.16 to the top. Oh, I haven't got my accuracy settings up high enough. Let's go to 2 decimal places. There we go. And that should be 2.16, which it is, which is perfect. Right. And I'm looking now at my little mood board of images, so I'll bring that up on the screen for you. I'm thinking of leaning more towards the SECR one, actually, you know, the one on the right hand side there. So yeah, let's have a look and see what needs to happen. So I'm thinking the planking pretty much does match up with the end, except we don't really have much of a base. So I'm thinking we'll just put this plank on, and we won't put the bottom one on because the image doesn't really show much of a defined base. These whole ends are a separate sort of piece, which means actually, if I have another look, I can put a little bit of a thick end on this. So let's see what will look right. Right, so that's 2, and that's 1. So it's going to be kind of close to the end, but not quite. 1.25, let's try. How's that going to look? Look at the picture. Yeah, that's a little bit on the thick end, I would have said, actually. Yeah, maybe we'll just make it 1 then. There you go. Alright, yeah. Yeah, I think that will do quite nicely. Okay, so now let's start, and as you can see, this has all been mirrored on the other side. So let's start putting in some of the smaller details. So I'm going to take a look at some of the sort of extruded metal parts on the side. So we are 24, 24.8 if we're going multiples. So that is going to be about there, and I need to decide on the thickness, which is probably going to want to be in the region of about 0.8. That will be double nozzle thickness. Let's see how that looks. Now, is that too big or too small? Let's have a look at the pictures. Yeah, I would have said that is pretty much correct. So that's what I want with those. And then looking at the wagon, there is like a little bit at the base that sort of sticks out. So let's do that. So 0.6 is probably a bit too far. So I need to do a bit of a calculation here. Let me pull up my calculator. So the base layer height is going to be 0.12, and then it's going to be 0.18 from there onwards. So we could have 0.13. We could have 0.48. Let's see what 0.48 looks like. Yeah, I think that's going to be pretty good. Now 1 mil is going to be too far, so let's go for 0.8 mil. Yeah, that should do it. 0.8 mil on that. Alright, and this is going to be a single piece, so we can get rid of all the lines that intersect it. Right, now, is that too much? I think it may be a little too much, so we're going to take off 0.4 from these. Right, which is that, yeah, midpoint. That's easy. And that should work. Yeah, that looks better. That's more like what I want. And then there's another sort of piece that just drops down, and that is around, just measuring up the pictures now. I did say I wasn't going to be too accurate, but it's turning into be a little bit more than I thought. Right, 4.5 we'll go for. There we go, and it comes around just a little weight down the first plank. So 4 is too much and 3 is not enough, so let's try 3.5. Yep, which looks pretty good. And then what did we do for the thickness of this? That was 0.8, which I want to do. I want to match that? Yeah. Now, unfortunately, I know that my printer cannot do rivets, right? There's just not the resolution there, unfortunately. I have tried, they just come out like blobs, so I'm not doing any rivets. I think one day if I get a resin printer or something, then it's very possible that that will, you know, be something I can do, but right now I don't think so. So we're going to just do 0.18 times 2. I think 0.36 will probably be good for this, because I've noticed on the pictures this thing does not go right up to the top. It does actually stop a little bit short, but it's not that short. I would have said probably 0.18 will do it. So that's the smallest resolution I can do on this model. The printers obviously do go much higher resolution than this, but I don't want to take too long on the prints, so that's why I'm doing it that way. And then we've got like, oh, these can go. Oh, can they? Yeah, they can go. And then we've got a piece that sticks out on the top, which will be 0.36 down from the top. So let's do this, 0.36. And again, is that too high? No, that looks good. And then it's probably going to be about 2.5 out there. Yep. And that then goes right down to the base. Now, is that far enough? Let's have a look. We want about 3 millimeters from the end, I reckon. So let's have a look, see what that is. Now let's make it a little bit further, 3 mil. Okay, and get rid of these. Now I think the thickness of that piece on the end, does it look like the thickness? Yeah, it does look like the same thickness, which I believe was 0.8. So we'll put 0.8 in there and pull that up. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. And 0.8. This is fun. I absolutely love doing this. It's so much fun. Right, get rid, get rid, get rid, get rid. Now, does that look good? I think the piece at the top here is a bit more than 0.8. It looks a bit thicker. So let's put another 0.18 thickness onto that. It's only a tiny amount, but I think it will make a difference. Oh, it didn't work. Hang on. Is that really 0.18? Yeah. Oh, yeah, almost, maybe it did work then, I don't know. Right, that looks more like it, but quite clearly it does have a rounded upper edge. So let's choose a diameter, let's choose a radius rather. Let's choose 0.5. Is that going to look good? No, let's choose 0.75. I might as well just do a radius of 0.8. 0.8. This is my janky way of producing a circular edge. Or a rounded edge, as it's also known. So let's try and go up to a 30 side. It's going to stop me if I go too high, 30. It is too high. Right, so it's rounded it down. I'm not sure if it goes for the maximum when it rounds down for you. I don't know, but it always looks okay. Right, so we now have the rounded edge, which looks pretty decent, I think. Right, so that's looking good. I haven't, obviously, none of this detail exists yet. It is just, you know, lines at the moment, but that is okay. So next, I'm going to do the weird bits that stick out on the SECR wagon. I'm quite intrigued by that. I think it looks pretty cool. So this involves doing an overhang, which in 3D printing is not always very good. So I don't want this overhang to be too large or anything. So I might have to, just for the purposes of the model, just reduce the size of the overhang a little bit, but that's okay. So that is 1.26. So we're going to go at half size, which is going to be 0.63. Is that correct? Let's have a look. So it was 1.25 divided by 2. Yeah, that's right. So 0.63 down should be there. Right. So let's do this just the once. Now, it looks like quite a large piece on the actual model. It looks like I could probably, I don't think it looks quite as big as that. So what does 0.8 look like? Actually, it doesn't have to be like that. What does 0.4 look like? No, that's not enough. So let's try 0.6. Yeah, I think that will do. Yeah, I think that will definitely do. And then the thing sort of rounds. It's got like a bit of rounding to it. So let's call it, so we've got 0.63. So let's go for the 0.36 layer height, which is about 2 layers. Oh no, that's no good. Right, let's do the 0.18. This is where the base of the rounding is going to be. So let's put that on there. Yeah, that's going to be good. And then from there, it's going to round. Oh, what am I doing? Right, so I think what we'll end up doing is like a 2-pointer. So you've got 0.6, so it'll be 1.2. What's going on? I don't think that's going to work. You see, we're working on a size that's too small now. Okay, so we'll have to just simplify this. This is such a tiny part that this is going to be, you know, just it's going to pale into insignificance. So let's go a little bit lower, and let's try the pi. Yep, that's not going to work. Right, so it's going to have to be a circle then, isn't it? Just want a little bit of rounding, that's all I need. But we are working incredibly tinily here. It's not drawing a circle now, that's weird. There. Okay, so it has worked. Sort of. So we don't want this part. We don't want these lines. We don't want this part that's growing out the top. Yeah, I think this is one of the weaknesses in SketchUp. You do get some weird things going on sometimes. So I need to get rid of these and go across like that. And then I've got this really odd effect going on here. Right, that should be alright. How bizarre. And then this we can take out to this wall. And there you have an approximation of what that should look like on the real thing. Okay, yeah, that's not so bad. Right, so I've now got to just duplicate that on the center part because they go right across the wagon. So I think this was 0.63 down, so we can do that easily enough. 0.63. Right, in theory, this should work better. Right, so you've got that. And then this needs to come out as far as that one does. Whoop. Which was 0.6, I think, if this isn't going to work. Yeah, it was 0.6, I'm pretty sure it was. Yep, it was. And then we did like, this thing was, how high up was that piece? Yeah, it's really messed with the geometry, hasn't it? Yeah, it was 0.18. So that goes out there, and then we get the circle again, which was basically that. And yes, there's probably a bit of circle that's gone inside my model now, which I need to get rid of, but I can do that without much trouble. pretty much right. Yeah, that looks different actually. That's strange. Did I go lower than the 0.18? Is this where I drew the circle from? Oh, it didn't work, did it? Oh yeah. Yeah, I think that's what I did. Yeah, that looks right. Oh well, this is so small. I mean, the slicing software, that's the software that converts this into a 3D printable file. It's going to simplify this quite a lot anyway, so as long as it looks right, I'm hoping this will be fine. This is a bit dodgy though, isn't it? Yes, it is. We'll see how the two work. Maybe they'll fit, maybe they won't. Right, and now we've got this weird piece sticking out of the top, so I'll try just deleting it. Right, yeah, they match. They match pretty close actually, which is good. Right, so if I just come out of here, we'll see if I've got any stray circles on the inside of it. I don't think I do. Yeah, they are quite small actually. I think on the real thing these bits sticking out would have been larger, but I don't know, I don't want to mess too much with this because it's going to stick out and then the overhang isn't going to work right. Yeah, I don't fancy it much. Right, so here are the little circly bits that are not supposed to be inside the model. I don't think it matters at all, but I just don't like having like errors in the geometry and such, so yeah, as you can see, that's nice and clean now. The other one, I think, was clean from the start. Yeah. That's a weird one. We'll get rid of this face later on, I think, rather than try and mess with it now. Right. Yeah, that's looking good. Okay. So I can unhide. Where are we? Yeah, we can unhide all those hidden faces. Right. So that's looking alright if you ask me. Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that. So let's start making some of these details pop out and such. Oh, I need to select one of these. Right, so let's see here. Yeah, so that's going to come out 0.4. Not too much on that. Yeah, same with that, same with that. Yeah, they look good. These are going to go inside 0.4. Same with that, same with that, same with that. And that, and that. Okay. How is that looking? Yeah, pretty good. So we're going to get rid of some of these extra lines because I just don't like them. Is that an extra? No, that's needed. These can mess with the slicing software if these sort of erroneous lines are still here, particularly if they're inside the model. So you do not want that. This one here doesn't seem to have gone in. Did I forget to do this? I must have done. Right. Oh, I haven't just destroyed something, have I? If you press shift, it goes on to the this mode, which like deletes stuff behind the face you're looking at. Quite a dangerous tool, if you ask me. Okay, yeah, that looks pretty good. Yeah, I'm happy with that. It's not bad at all. And then I think at the bottom of this, there is like quite a big lump that sticks out looking at the real thing. So if I just go for 0.18, it's probably a bit taller than that actually. So if we go for 0.36, I can make that come out a bit further. So that's going to be 0.4 again. And actually, I'm reckoning these could be a little bit larger. Just by a little bit. 0.18. That's sort of ruined it, hasn't it? Alright, well I won't do that then, if that's going to cause problems. Okay, so let's turn our attention to the ends. So we've got like, so if I draw a line here, just so we don't ruin that piece, there is kind of like 0.36 below this. There's like a little square which sits just above the planking there, which is good. I wouldn't say it is square, so it needs to be more than 1.7, so maybe 2, maybe 2.4. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And inside there is like a circular piece that starts around halfway. So let's go for a 0.8 in, and let's go with a 0.6 mil diameter circle. Radius, I meant. Oh, that's a bit big. Yeah, that's pretty darn big. Alright, but you can't draw tiny circles, which is pretty annoying. So that can go. Let's go for 0.5. Can we do a 0.4 radius circle? No, that's going to be way too small, so it's going to have to be a little square, which shouldn't matter too much, I don't think. So it's going to be half a mil. Alright, 0.25, 0.5, yeah, this is looking good, 0.5, 0.5. And that's going to sort of reach just above here. Yeah, I like that. That will be fine, I think. And there's like a little latch type thing which comes down off it. Got quite a low resolution photo, but I think it will be something along the lines of this. I think it needs to be a bit further along here, actually, like that. Alright, these are going to be very, very difficult to print, so there's not going to be too much in the way of resolution here. Is that 0.4? That looks pretty big. No, it's not as big as that. So let's go for a 0.2 and a 0.4 on that. Yeah, it's probably more like what it's going to be. And I've just realised actually that my height is a bit weird on this. It doesn't need to stretch right to the top, so I'm going to put a 0.18 on here and cut off the top. And that's going to have to change to something like that. And then I'm not too happy with the way that these are not parallel, so let's see if I can get a parallel line here. Now SketchUp's a bit weird for drawing parallel lines, it's a bit finicky. But hopefully, oh, there we are, that's it. And we want the diameter to be, sorry, diameter, what am I talking about? 0.8's way too big. And I've lost the parallel drawing thing. It goes pink when you're drawing parallel. No, it's not even parallel. Perpendicular is the word I'm looking for, I think. Right. So let's try 0.4. 0.4 looks good. Right, then we want perpendicular to this. There we go, almost had it. Right, I think this thing might be in the way. Yeah, this is frustrating. This is the frustrating part of SketchUp, but it normally works in the end. It's just a bit of a pain to get there. Come on. Perpendicular. The only other way to do it is draw another perpendicular line further along. There we go, got it, 0.4. And then you can join the dots. And then it's easier somehow to do another perpendicular line from there. I don't understand, but it works, so that's what I do. And then we just need another one here. Having trouble again. If I just keep this line going like that, and then I can go vertically up on here, and we know that works. Geometry for the win. Okay, that looks good. And then this can go vertically up, and we remove the joins. Okay, I think that's probably more like what I was going for. See how these stupid insignificant parts take the longest? I don't know why. Right, so that should be quite a nice subtle piece, I'm hoping, by the time this is done. And then we've got quite an interesting effect going on with the ends, and I'm just going to estimate that we're a third across here, so that's going to be 32 divided by 3, so it's going to be 10.6 across. How's that going to look? Yeah, that's going to look pretty good, 10.6. And then we'll go up here, and I'm thinking we're going to want 0.6, 0.4, I think we'll try 1.2, which is 0.6 across. You'll see what I'm going for with this. 0.6 across that way as well. Right, and then you've got this weird sort of effect here. So I'm going to want 0.6 across, yeah. So I want that line going up there. And I'm going to pull this out by 0.2. I'm going to pull this out by 0.6, I think. Maybe even slightly more than that. Let's go 0.8. This won't matter because there's no overhang. This is touching the ground. And then it's just below the level of the planking. So I choose here. And then here there's going to be a 0.2 line, which is about like that. And these are going to meet like so. And I'll need to do the same on this side. So, oh, that's tricky. 0.2, drop down, and the printer actually does a really good job on details like this, which is why I'm going to the trouble of making this. Right, get rid of all these unneeded lines. Right, and then this piece here can disappear. Yeah, I think that looks pretty much what I want. This is too thick. This is 0.6 millimeters thick. I might try making it thinner, but the printer will struggle. And the curing software will actually struggle, so I don't always include that. Right, now let's put the planking in, which is going to be, ooh, interesting. So I'm going to put 0.6 in here. It's not strictly realistic, this, but I don't want this bit to inset, because then it's going to ruin this end piece. So I think that will probably be all right. Yeah, that will be okay. And same with that. Okay, nice. So I think that is pretty much the detailing done. It's quite a simple little piece, this, which is why I chose it for this. But obviously it ain't no wagon unless it's got a base. So let's create a base. And again, I'm going to do this in, I think, quarters. So I've now left these parts, so these parts are not now being edited, and I'm going to jump in here and draw a base, which is, I don't know what the dimension of that will be. So let's move out here. Laziness for the win. Right, now that should have created a face there. Why didn't it? Did I not draw one here? That's why, okay. And then I want the thickness of the base to be, now I worked this out because I did this on a previous wagon. I want this to be 2.64, which as you can see is pretty thick compared to the outside. And that's the slight problem with doing it like this. So like I say, the inner plank is going to be somewhere here. But it's going to be a bit more realistic than that, because there is going to be some planking on this, which will hopefully give it a bit more depth. So I need to select this, but I don't want the outer walls. All right, we'll create a component, and that is going to be the base quarter. Right, And now I think it is just a case of putting the planking in. So in the past I've done plank spacing of 1.84. So let's see, plank spacing of 1.84, yeah, that will work. So 1.884 divided by 2 for the first one, so that's 0.92. And I'm doing this, let me show you, 0.92. I'm putting a half plank in the center here, so that when this is duplicated it will match up and there'll be a full plank over on the other side. And then the gaps between the planks is going to be 0.4 mil, which is the size of the nozzle of the 3D printer. And then from there on I can do full sized planks, which is going to be 1.84. Now I warn you, this is going to be the tedious bit, but then I also said I wasn't going to edit this, so I won't. But you have been warned. But just be glad I'm only doing a quarter of this and not the whole lot. Right, 1.84. Okay, I lied. I decided to put a time lapse in there just because, seriously, it's dull. But yeah, it was quite a quick time lapse, so you won't have missed anything really of interest. Okay, so these are going to be 0.54 millimeters down. And this is part of the reason why this piece needs to be quite tall, because I still want holes in the base to mount this onto a chassis, but I don't want the holes to be visible from the top. Right, so we've got planking, there you go, nice and easy. Now I need to try and figure out how to do some of the internal planks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this object, I'm going to draw a line between that base and the top. I'm going to take a midpoint, just draw a short line, and then the gap between the planks was 0.48, so I'm going to do just half of that, which is 0.24. 0.24, let me just do that calculation again. Yeah, that's right. Just want to make sure I've got that right. Go right up to the edge. Same one again. Is it going to do it again? Yeah, that's nice. So it's, yeah, what I've done is, in my initial calculations, I've made the planking on the outside slightly larger than I want it to be, and the planking on the inside slightly smaller than I want it to be, which hopefully will look, you know, halfway convincing by the time it's done. Right, so we got that, map strictly horizontal. And then I don't like the way planking looks in the corners, so I'm going to put like a 0.6 millimeter pillar on that. So that it does not go right up to the end. Like so. Oops, no. Right, so that, now, if I put in my 0.4 mil, what was the depth? Yeah, it was 0.4. Yeah, hopefully that looks alright. I'm not sure if I like this end bit now. Yeah, not terribly convinced by that. Let's have a look inside. So as you can see, yeah, the planking is not far off actually, it's only a little bit higher, which I'm quite impressed with. How did that work out? So it does mean that we've got quite a thin section here, but I've made it so that the distance between these thin sections is still, I think, at least 2 passes of the print head, the nozzle. So I'm hoping that will be strong enough. It's only a 2-planker, so it hasn't got to be dead strong. No, not keen. Let's try, let's see what it looks like with the full planks. 0.4, 0.4. See, that's dodgy. So let's try let's try putting this in. Yeah, I think that's going to be best. That should still be nice and strong. Right, well, I think the end is pretty close now. I'm going to hide these just so that I've got maximum maneuverability with my base. And we can duplicate the base many times. And don't forget, this also needs to be flipped so that the planking matches up. So that jumps across to there, and they should match, and you've got a nice clean plank in the center there. And then we need to, oh yeah, just duplicate that as well. And flip it. -1. Now if I've done all this right, when I bring the wagon walls back into play, these should all match up. Let's see. Yep, they do seem to. Right, so it's looking great now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save a new copy of this, version 2. Right, 2-plank version 2, because I'm now going to fix the geometry on this. So I'm going to explode it, which will make it into one single part. And then I can go in and remove some of these join lines and make all of these parts one, which is what I want. This just makes it much easier for the slicing software to actually comprehend what is going on, and it will make sure there are no nasty sort of lines dividing up parts of the model. Now I'm not going to do this for the inside, because I don't think that's a problem, and yeah, it takes too long. Basically, yep, laziness rears its ugly head once again. And believe me, if you're doing like a 5-plank wagon, which I have done, this process does take quite a long time. There we go, that's looking good. But yeah, as a 2-planker, this is not ever so bad. Can we get rid of those? I don't think we're going to be able to get rid of these. No. Get rid of that though. Get rid of that? Nope. So those lines are required for the integrity of the model. Alright, get rid of all the lines. This is the less interesting part, and it's very, very easy to mess something up badly when you're doing this. So even though it's dull, you've still got to kind of be careful and make sure that it all goes well and you're all neat and tidy with everything. I think this is just good practice though, really, to make sure that your models are looking good. And I am going to take a look inside it as well and just delete any faces. I remember there were some faces on the ends that I needed to cure, so I will do that. Yeah, you know, the long sides, there was some messiness going on in there. I just need to get this line, there we go. You can get stuck inside models sometimes, that's a bit frustrating. But I think we're getting close. That centre line can disappear actually, there we go. Yep, it crashed then. I don't know what went wrong. I thought I'd messed it up, but reloaded and we're okay. Alright. Right. Okay, that's looking good. So, if I just take... Oh no, I've missed some. How did I miss these? So it's now officially one part. It started off as 8 different parts. It's now all been merged into one. So there was, I think it was inside the end part here. Oh no, but I can get rid of that line there. No, it wasn't in there. There is a face somewhere. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, I think possibly merging all of this together has gotten rid of the erroneous face. Yeah, there was a face in between these two parts, I'm sure of it, but it's gone now. So obviously exploding the parts has gotten rid of it, which is good. Just check there isn't one on the other side. There's a line in there. What is that line doing? And there's another one over there. Oh yeah, they're the corners, aren't they? They're the old corners. Right, let's have a look in underneath then. Just make sure that this is all good, because this will... See, having lines inside here just makes me nervous because that's when you can get errors in the sort of slice and the print. It's all looking really good though. Yeah, it's mostly error-free, isn't it? Which is good. Yep, just a few naughty lines and then I think we're done. Right, yeah, that looks really good. Yeah, and we'll leave the lines in here for laziness purposes and so that you don't all want to kill yourselves having watched this, but usually you would want to get rid of those just to be on the safe side. But I think we're there now, so I just need to put some holes in the base and these go in the centers. They are 15mm from the end and there is a circle which has a radius of 3mm. And I'm not entirely sure of the depth it needs to go to. I think it's 1.5. Let's see, hide that. There should be some sort of distance between the planks. Yeah, I think it was 1.5. I could check on one of my other models. It doesn't matter too much. Tell you what, we'll leave it at 1.5, see what happens. No, I was talking, I said 1.5 as I meant to put in 3. That's dangerous. I've messed things up by doing that before. Okay, and that goes in by 1.5. I think it might have been just 1, but we'll see. Right, there is the wagon. Let's take this upstairs to the loft. Let's get this printing and see what it looks like. And I've just noticed I missed another line. Naughty. And another one. Naughty. I should have really checked this. Yeah, I think we're good now. Right, I'll slice this, we'll take it up and print it, and let's see how it comes out. So today's machine of choice is going to be the FlashForge Adventurer 3 because the Mingda is busy, and slicing at my standard slice setting, this is only going to take less than 50 minutes to print, I think 48 minutes. Now, obviously, if I wanted to get a better model, I could reduce the layer height and it would definitely look better. But we're going to do it fast for the sake of the video today, and we'll see what the quality of the model is like when that is done. So yeah, wish us luck. I'll show you some shots as the thing prints, but other than that, I'll see you in about 48 minutes and we'll see how this thing turned out. Okay, well that was a pretty quick 3/4 of an hour. It was pretty much on time, and by the looks of things, there is a complete wagon body inside there. So I'm going to pull it out and we'll take a closer look together. Okay, I'll play midwife, shall I? Bring this wagon into the world. And this is the magic, really, of the FlashForge Adventurer build plates, because you can literally... Oh, isn't that nice? Pull it off. Very, very easy to do. It's been designed so that you can bend it. It's a bit cringy, isn't it? You think, oh god, it's going to warp. No, it does actually return back to its original shape very, very nicely. And I'm only on build plate number 2, I think. I bought loads of them reasonably cheaply. They do seem to last quite well, so that's pretty good. Anyway, here is the body. And the amazing thing is, if you actually watched me design this thing, and you didn't skip it, I guess, then you'll be ultra familiar with all of the details on this, but for the first time you're seeing it physically and not on a screen, which is quite a magical moment. So yeah, as you can see, the detailing on the side came out really nicely. I do think these little side parts, whatever they are, I don't know what they are. I design a lot of things without knowing what the heck they are. Yeah, obviously they don't stand proud as much as they did on the photos I looked at, which is intentional. Like I said during the design, if they were much larger, that would cause a problem with the overhang. So, I mean, the overhang actually worked perfectly well. There's no problem with that, so I could get away with making them a bit longer. More realistically, perhaps a separately fitted part would do better, and then I could make them bigger and more like the actual size. But besides that, the planking and such on the side worked really nicely. The best bit is always the planking on the inside, on the floor. That looks absolutely epic, and you even get like a wooden texture, which is just inherent in the 3D printing technique. The ends, you can see that the part here that I spent so long designing, it's just a blob. You can't really see, but it does indicate that there is, you know, something there, and therefore it was worth the effort, because from any sort of distance, you know, you can just see a bit of detail there, which works. So I'll leave that there for you to look at, and I'll go and grab a chassis to put this on. Okay, here it comes. This is the final part. So this is just one of the chassis that I'll have lying around. It's the latest version of Chassis B, and I use this one in particular just to test fit all the stuff I've built. So put that on. It's a good fit. And there you have it. That is the complete 2-plank wagon, which is loosely based on an SECR one. It's not accurate or anything, because I'm personally not that interested in absolute accuracy. This model just indicates a 2-plank wagon from the rough SECR region, and for me that is enough. But you know, these are entirely customizable, so if you wouldn't be satisfied with just eyeballing the detailing, you could totally go and measure one of the real things. You could try and find some proper diagrams. There's nothing to stop you being much more accurate in your measurements, and if that's what brings you joy and if that's what floats your boat, then absolutely do that. But as you can see, this model was created in 2 hours flat, 1 hour, just less, in fact less than 2 hours, just less than 1 hour to design it, and then about 3/4 of an hour to print it. And obviously the chassis I already had made. So it's not a huge time investment, very, very cheap to produce, of course, once you've got the 3D printer. And it looks rather good, I think. Yeah, with a coat of paint, that would look absolutely lovely. So, thank you very, very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you would like to see more live designing, do comment and let me know down below. If you thought it was boring as hell and you don't want to see it again for as long as you live, then also comment that down below, because if you want more, I will totally do more, and if you don't, there would be no point. But for now, thank you very, very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, like I say, and I'll see you very, very soon. Alright, cheers everybody, take care.